article here says, what are the top 10 most stable housing markets? Here's how Utah and Idaho rank. Yes, housing markets in the West, including Utah, went haywire after the COVID-19 pandemic sent many Americans house shopping. The rush on housing in fast-growing, relatively more affordable areas like the West pushed prices sky high. I went ahead and highlighted this because, relatively more affordable. There's a lot of people who are coming from like New York, the Northeast, or coming from California, and they're saying, hey, Utah definitely looks a lot more appealing. Even in today's prices, it still looks more appealing, and it is still relatively more affordable overall. But now, as higher mortgage rates temper demand, does that mean that prices are about to hit free fall? The answer to that question is nuanced. While experts don't predict home values to plummet like they did in 2006, some do say it's possible prices in particularly overvalued regional markets could see prices fall up to 10% over the next year, maybe even up to 20% if an economic recession hits. Some economists have especially been eyeing Boise as an area with among the highest chances of that happening. So this is really interesting information here. They're saying that Boise actually has the most risk of falling pretty substantially, and it seems to be the most overheated market. But what they're going to actually say about Salt Lake here is going to be something a little bit different. So let me go ahead and get rid of that. So what about Utah, the Beehive State with its years-long housing shortage, rapid population growth, strong job market, and desirable proximity to world-class hiking and skiing, is still facing quite a bit of a housing demand. And economists have ranked its regional markets as having a lower risk of home prices drop compared to Boise's market. And this week, CNBC ranked Utah number 1 for having the most stable housing market, according to the outlet's America's Top States for Business study. Now, this is pretty interesting information because there's been some other reports that have come out recently saying, hey, a lot of those Western states, along the Rocky Mountains are overpriced, right? So that could include Colorado, Wyoming, Idaho, Utah, Arizona, Nevada, even New Mexico, right? So that's we're kind of getting some differing points of view here, which is a little bit interesting. No matter how you look at it, the housing market in the Beehive State is buzzing. All right, yeah, pretty bad pun there. Prices are rising at the second highest rate in the country, but with the nation's fastest pace of new construction, plenty of new inventory is on the way in Utah. Foreclosures are manageable and home equity is strong in the housing market in the nation. So one other thing I want to point out is this is actually another video that's going to be coming out on the channel here soon. We talk a little bit about the inventory that we have, what's going on with the builders, and what's actually happening with foreclosures and kind of home equity in general, like it says here. So the thing is, it says there's going to be a lot of new construction and plenty of new inventory on the way, but we're still actually at about 21 or 22,000 housing units short of where we should be in order to kind of meet that threshold where they're a little bit more balanced, right? So interesting to see that there. CNBC also had a more optimistic ranking for Idaho than other economists like Moody's Analytics, which told Fortune that Boise could see prices drop up to 20% if a recession hits. Rather, CNBC ranked Idaho as the number 5 most stable housing market in the nation. So Idaho was not number 1. Of course, that was Utah, but it's interesting to see that CNBC is so different than what the Moody's Analytics are saying, and basically saying, hey, Boise could be hit, could be one of the cities that gets hit the hardest if a recession does come. So it's a little bit interesting, and it'll be, it's something we're going to have to watch and see what happens in the future. Idaho's housing market has been going gangbusters for some time now. Buying a home in the gem state is not for the faint of heart, but new construction is slowly starting to relieve the inventory squeeze, and rising foreclosures are a potential warning sign if the economy tips into a recession. Now, this is interesting because I've heard a lot of people saying, hey, foreclosures are on the rise, they're going up, what's going to happen, how's this going to affect the market? And the thing you really have to look at when it comes to this is you actually need to take a look at what the number of foreclosures are and how that compares to times in the past, not necessarily the growth that those foreclosures are seeing, right? If you have foreclosures happening, let's say you have 50 foreclosures one month and the next month you have 100, well, okay, you just saw a 100% increase, which is going to sound really terrifying, but 100 foreclosures when there's hundreds of thousands of homes might not be that big of an issue. That might be pretty typical to see those types of numbers there. So that's something you really have to pay attention to, is just look at what the actual foreclosure numbers are and then go back and compare them to 2017, 2018, 2019 to really get a good sense of what's going on. in the market overall. Hey, real quick, guys, I want to tell you about the new newsletter that I'm going to be releasing here in the next little bit. If you want to sign up for it, go and click the link in the description box below. You'll just need your name and your email, and you'll be signed up for that newsletter. Now, this is going to be a newsletter that goes out every, probably 2 to 3 weeks or so, and it's going to have some information about what's happening in Utah, what's happening with the real estate market, what's happening with interest rates, and just kind of some information about the market overall. So if you want to sign up for that newsletter and be a part of that, make sure to click that link down below, and let's get back to the video. So here's how CNBC's stable housing markets ranked. The outlet considered the state's 2022 economic rankings, year-over-year price appreciation, new construction per year, and the rate of foreclosures and insolvency for this ranking. So number 1, here's in Utah. 2022 economy rank is number 6, which is actually pretty cool. It's cool to see that Utah is so high on this list. We're at number 6. Year-over-year appreciation is 27.1%. Home starts per 1,000 population is 12.2. Foreclosure rate is about 1 in 2,063. And then the percentage of mortgages that are underwater is 1.4%, which is extremely low. It's actually kind of surprising that it's not even lower, just because so many people have so much equity in their homes right now. This could be from people who bought their home, let's say just 3 months ago, and now prices have kind of come down a little bit. And so that's what's showing as an underwater mortgage. I don't know exactly how they determine that, but here's what the data is saying. So next up, talking a little bit about Washington. Washington ranked number 3 for the economy. Appreciation at 20%, 7.3 per 1,000 population. Their foreclosure rate is actually significantly lower than here in Utah. And underwater mortgages is roughly the same. I'm going to jump down here to Idaho. Idaho was ranked number 5, so they actually ranked a little bit higher on the economy rank than we did. Year-over-year appreciation was very similar. Their housing starts per 1,000 population is a little bit lower, but their foreclosure rate is also significantly lower as well, even though underwater mortgages is a little bit higher. Now, the thing I thought was really interesting on this list, if we actually take a look at that foreclosure rate, 1 in 2,063 here in Utah, if we look at these other states, they all have a smaller foreclosure rate. Florida does not. They're 1 out of 1,211. Texas, somewhat similar. Idaho, drastically different. Tennessee, much higher. Vermont is really, really good. 1 in 13,000. That's pretty crazy. 1 in 1,806. 1 out of 1,861 in Arizona. South Carolina at 1 out of 1,081. And then here in South Dakota, 1 out of 17,000. That's pretty crazy to see that there's such a large swing between housing prices, in these different areas. So I just wanted to kind of share that information. As I mentioned earlier, Utah is now ranked as the most stable housing market, I guess, in the country, based on this list. So that's pretty crazy to see. Basically what they're saying is that if a recession does hit the economy and prices keep going down, or interest rates keep going up, Utah is actually in a position where they might see the littlest impact from that. So I think that's actually a good sign. If you're a homeowner here in Utah, that's a really good sign. If you're hoping to get into the market, maybe that's a signal that, hey, now maybe is the right time for you. I don't know. That's something that we have to talk about when you reach out to me. My information will be here on the screen. I guess I should switch over here. That's something we're going to have to talk about and see if it's the right decision for you. You might also be thinking, hey, maybe I should sit on the sidelines and just see what happens, over the next little bit. And then we'll go from there and kind of see what, makes the most sense as far as starting on new construction right now, buying an existing home, or whatever that situation may be for you individually.